Okay, in this video we're going to be taking a look at an essay written by one of my students. The essay is good as it is, but it can be improved, and in order to help the student improve, I'll be walking through the essay, reading it aloud, and making changes as I go to correct a few mistakes, but also just to improve the level of vocabulary and grammar to that of more C2 or C1 plus level. What I would like to say about this essay, however, is that when we just zoom out and look at the structure, we have 5 paragraphs. The essay is almost 1,000 words, and it makes a clear argument, and it is very well organized. Especially, I'd like to point out that the paragraphs follow the kind of structure that makes it very readable. We have an introduction paragraph, one body paragraph, and there's a meal structure here in which we have the main idea, we have evidence, analysis of that evidence, and then a link back to the main idea. So the body paragraphs are very well organized, and thus the argumentation is quite logical. All right, let's see. How can we go about making it even better? Well, the art of video games is a popular pastime that everyone in modern-day society is familiar with. From iconic characters like Mario, Sonic, and Pikachu, to franchises like the controversial Grand Theft Auto, even people who do not have video games or who do not enjoy video games as their pastime may at least have heard of these concepts through media outlets or through social media such as Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. This should be one sentence because otherwise this sentence here is a fragment. Instead of "it may be that video games could go from a pastime to an educational instrument," well, the person is making an argument. So let's not be so tentative. Let's say, well, with the proper implementation, video games could go from a pastime to an educational instrument, which motivates students by giving them an excuse to play video games. This excuse will enable students to increase their performance or their educational outcomes by playing educational video games that teach or supplement topics in the curriculum. This is a Dunglishism, that learn him or learn them. You teach someone something. You don't learn someone something. I think this is something that may be the key to the next generation of education, and because of this, I would like to state, otherwise it sounds like you do this all the time, that it's a regular action. Present simple is not the tense we want here. We want to use a phrase like, I would like to state that the usage of video games in secondary education promotes let's just say promotes learning. Could we just say that? Instead of promotes the learning abilities of learners, let's just say promotes learning and should therefore be implemented in school curricula. School curricula in general. Nice job on the word curricula, by the way. It's the plural form of curriculum. Video games improve the cognitive and metacognitive skills of learners. And then this should be they're video games and they're plural. So we need which plays a major video games. Yeah. No, this is a plural noun. However, we have a singular subject. Basically, we need to say, video games improve the cognitive and metacognitive skills of learners, which plays a major role in all educational levels. Plays because basically our subject is, Yeah, video games improving the cognitive. It's kind of I guess maybe a gerund form. It's not a gerund, but we need a plural noun here, which plays a major role. According to Sharp Brains, cognitive skills are brain-based skills that humans need to perform any task, such as problem solving and paying attention. Just sounds more academic. I'm not sure why on the other hand is in here. It makes it sound like it's, I would use, in addition, metacognitive skills, because we have cognitive skills, right? And in addition, metacognitive skills make people aware. We don't need our skills that. Metacognitive skills make people aware of their thoughts and allow individuals to select and reshape certain learning strategies so that they can choose the more advantageous learning strategy for the problem they are trying to. You overcome a challenge, but in English you solve a problem, the problem they are trying to solve. According to the article, Video Games for Entertainment and Education by U. Ritterfield and R. Weber, video games create certain simulations where the user encounters multiple unfamiliar obstacles that require the user to identify the problem and solve it in the user's own unique way, and therefore activate the user's metacognitive skills. I would add the subject back in here, and therefore this activates the user's metacognitive skills. This kind of activation is applicable, nice word, to education as well. Ritterfield and Weber continue to explain that the usage and improvement of metacognitive skills is beneficial and crucial to education because these skills allow learners to, as Ritterfield and Weber state, learn how to learn. Ritterfield and Weber back this up by research that suggests that training students' metacognitive skills, and here we need an apostrophe. This is another Dunglishism. In English, we would just use a besittelijk possessive form. So students, with an apostrophe after the S, the metacognitive skills are the students, that of the students. So students, apostrophe, metacognitive skills. Research that suggests that training students' metacognitive skills results in an improvement in tackling unfamiliar situations. Sounds better. Thus, video games stimulate the improvement of cognitive and metacognitive skills, which plays a crucial role. It doesn't have a role, but it plays a role in education as a whole, and therefore makes video games beneficial for education. Nice linkers, by the way. In addition, through video games, the overall results of students, let's say, are improved significantly. The reasoning for this, or evidence of this improvement was, you don't really establish it in research. Evidence for this improvement was shown, was indicated, was demonstrated in the research done by Dr. Rick Blunt from the Advanced Distributed Learning Initiative, where Dr. Blunt researched the connection between video games and learning. Blunt researched this by doing identical experiments on a first-year business course, third-year economics course, and third-year management course, where half of the classes in these courses were taught the normal class materials alongside video games that explained these materials in a different situation, or in a different context, might sound better. Both classes that were taught with the aid of games and without games, and then we've got a redundant both there. We already have both. Both classes that were taught with the aid of, both classes, let's say this, the classes which were taught both with the aid of video games and without received identical exams and guidelines. Blunt's research showed that students who were taught with video games as extra learning material performed better than students who did not receive video games as optional learning material. In all the courses, the average grade of students who were taught with the aid of games, And then I think what you want here was an A, which is a grade that is near perfect, whereas the students who did not use video games as extra learning material had as average grades B, B, and D, respectively. Nice word, respectively. Therefore, through learning, I'm trying to think of another way to say this, to vary the vocabulary, which is a feature of C2 level writing. Therefore, through learning via standard class materials, as well as learning with the aid of video games. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah. So the author is trying to say that both standard class materials and video games, when they're combined, enable students to perform better overall than students who did not have video games available. So this is a bit clunky and it gets kind of confusing to read. I would say something like, or write something like, therefore, the combination of standard class materials and video games enables students to perform better overall than students who are not provided video games in supplement to regular class materials. However, there are critics that claim that the educational value of video games is not up to par with traditional learning. Again, a good topic sentence sets up our paragraph. This claim is supported by the article Video Gaming, Education, and Digital Learning Technologies by J. Kirimura. And then here we need a full stop because this is a complete sentence. We have a subject, this claim, and we have a verb or a predicate is supported. Full stop. New sentence. Kirimura's results show, indicate, demonstrate. Results don't really claim anything. People claim things. Kirimura's results indicate that the educational value is debatable in gaming-oriented educational material. Kirimura's justification for this claim is that the gaming or entertainment elements in educational games, here we have elements have been constructed. Yeah, so it's a plural noun. We need what's called subject-verb agreement. Gaming or entertainment elements in educational games have been constructed by teachers, whilst the educational elements of educational games have been constructed by game developers. Nonetheless, good linker, there is a solution to this counter-argument. And then what I would do here is a colon, a colon. There is a solution to this argument, patches. According to TechTarget, a media platform that is specialized in, or actually this is also a Dunglishism, it should just say, a media platform that specializes in technology at all levels, or on all levels is good. A patch is a quick repair job for a piece of programming designed to resolve functionality issues, improve security, and add new features. To further elaborate on this, if a mistake has been made during development or an error has been found after the release of an educational game, it is possible for the developers to quickly correct the mistake and publish the patch that will be automatically installed on the device the educational game is downloaded on. Therefore, any educational game which lacks the required educational value can be, let's say, adapted to fit the required educational value through patches, or to meet educational requirements through patches. And then I would just link back to the main idea here, which is that, and thus, video games are more than appropriate educational resources. And now our conclusion, to wrap up the whole argument here. As mentioned in the arguments above, there are numerous aspects which make video games beneficial for learning and education as a whole. Educational video games and video games that are not meant for education both enhance the cognitive and metacognitive skills of learners who make use of video games. And then I would end the sentence. In addition, their grades improve by a significant amount. Even though some critics tend to disagree with the implementation of video games in education, due to most educational video games lacking educational value, I think what you mean is due to most video games lacking or apparently lacking educational value. Because again, if you say they're educational games, then they would have value, right? So I would get rid of that. Even though some critics tend to disagree with the implementation of video games in education, due to the fact that most games apparently lack educational value, this problem is solved by patches that can be quickly implemented. Full stop. This is a bit unnecessary. Therefore, the usage of video games at all educational levels promotes learning and should therefore be implemented in school curricula. Okay, so we've attempted to make the language better, and thus the argument is stronger and more effective. I hope this has been helpful. Thanks for watching.